everyone, for joining us. Good morning again, Joni Hollabuff. Also with us this morning is Tony Mary. If you want to say hi, Tony.
Good morning.
And without further ado, we're going to hand it off to Dennis Earnshaw with MyAssistant.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. My name is Dennis Earnshaw. We're the developers of the Sage MyAssistant product, and we're going to provide a little overview for you today. I like to have a rather informal session, if that's okay. So really ask questions at any time. Been around the Timberline world a long time. Spent 21 years working for Timberline back before it was Sage in development. So know most of the folks, so real casual session. There's really one thing that we ask folks to do, and that is let your imagination go. MyAssistant's been out in the Sage world, the Sage, Timberline world for about 9 years, and you guys are the creative folks. We had some ideas as to how this product would be used when we built it, but the customers have been so creative on how they're using MyAssistant. There's about 2,200 Sage users using MyAssistant right now. So really, as I go through here, the key on this session is to really just let your imaginations go on how this might be used. I have 2 more slides, and then we'll get right into the product. What is MyAssistant? MyAssistant, in short, is a tool that allows you to monitor your business. We're in a notification world these days. When you kind of think about your world, we get notified if it's even just simple things like you got a text message on your phone, or you got a dentist appointment tomorrow, or what have you. So what this tool does is it can monitor your business, really anything about a job, a vendor, an employee. Something needs to happen. We need to send employee their pay stubs. We need to tell this vendor that their insurance is going to expire. We need to inquire to a customer about a past due invoice. We need to send an email to a architect or a GC about a change order, what have you. And once MyAssistant finds something, what it can do is it can look up who to notify. Okay, so like in the employee example, it will say, hey, Sam got paid this week, or Susan got paid this week. We need to send Susan a pay statement for her payment. This may be a direct deposit. Or we want to send a vendor a letter to say, we need a new insurance certificate, or a customer a letter about inquiring on an invoice. So it can look up who to notify based on what it finds. And then what it can do is it can generate content. When I say content, it could be just a simple list in the body of an email. It could be documents such as AR statements and pay statements and invoices and all sorts of lien waivers and all sorts of documents, reports, etc. It can generate content and send it to the person. So monitor, look up, and send is really what you want to think about in MyAssistant. So the best place to look at MyAssistant to begin with is really your inbox. We all live in our inboxes. That's where we receive information. It's where we disseminate information. I'm going to go through and show you some different examples. These are just examples of common things that we've seen with Sage customers. Like I said, let your imagination go as to things that you might want to do. So this is an example of a list in the body of the email. It's a list of vendors whose workers' comp insurance is going to expire. Ignore the dates. This is run off the sample data that comes with Sage. So you could push this out to someone in your office. You could put this out to project teams and filter it by project. But an example of the list. You get to determine what this list looks like, and I'll show you how that works. We think it's pretty easy to do, or customers tell us it's pretty easy to do. But you can tell MyAssistant what information you want in this little report here. This next one's a really good example of something we see a lot of, and that is generating a document, such as this is a pay statement. This comes pre-built with MyAssistant. You do your payroll. You want to tell employees, what they got paid for and what was deducted, and all that good stuff. And MyAssistant will just cycle through each payroll check, find out who to tell, and create one of a document for them, password protected if you want, and then send it to them. So think of this document concept. This could have been an AR statement. It could have been an SM invoice. We see quite a few customers do that. Lien waivers. See customers generate lien waivers and send. So monitor, look up, and then send. Other examples, we can actually send you a list of common things. MyAssistant comes with 300 of these pre-built for you. That list was built up over time. When we shipped MyAssistant 1.0, we only had we had zero. We had zero pre-built tasks, and then as we worked with clients and so forth, we just kept adding more and more to the list. And so this list really is feedback from you guys, the creative folks. Are we? I'm assuming we're doing okay, folks. Everybody can hear me fine. Everything. Okay.
Great.
Okay, great. So reports. Thanks, Patricia. Reports. MyAssistant can generate any of the reports on your Sage menus. Okay, so it could be a custom report that you folks have built and added to the menu, or maybe your consultant helped you with it. And MyAssistant can generate it and send it to folks. This is a kind of a silly, stupid one here. Sorry, but I'll show you how that works. It's really any report on the menu you can generate and send with MyAssistant. One of the keys, if you haven't picked up on yet with MyAssistant, remember I mentioned the statement will send the employees their statement, or an AR statement will send the customer just their statement. MyAssistant can filter content by recipient. So when you do a report, you can filter the content of the report by project manager, or someone here just on the phone this morning sending reports to salespeople, and they were filtering that by that. So it'll filter that content for you. Here's an example of a little letter. Okay, so here again, we've seen a list, we've seen a document, kind of an ugly looking report. This might be a letter that would go to a vendor, and you can define this, and I'll show that to you as well. Here's an example of an invoice, okay, like an SM invoice. Same concept as the pay statement. We actually did this for a client here, and you can use your invoice. Okay, you don't use MyAssistant stuff. This content here, this invoice, the pay statement, whatever, you can customize to be whatever you want. Okay, so it's really hopefully you're seeing it's kind of all over the board. In addition to reports and lists, you can generate things in Excel workbooks. So you say, okay, that's great. I got a list of past due invoices here, but I want to send them in a Excel spreadsheet, not in a PDF or just in a list in the body of the email. And so you have that choice there as well. Hopefully getting the idea. So what I'd like to do now is flip over to the product. And the way MyAssistant works, this is the MyAssistant Designer. You set up these things we call tasks. Okay, so think of it, giving your assistant a task. Like you might have a task to monitor for jobs over budget, or commitments with expiring auto insurance, what have you. You can set up these tasks, and you're going to give this little electronic assistant a task. Once you do that, you won't go back into MyAssistant. It just sits on your server, and you can schedule these things, and they just run. And then when they find something, they send emails. So it's a one-time setup, and leave it on your server, and then you push out information as needed. Okay, so you do that setup with this designer tool. I mentioned there's a couple hundred of these pre-built tasks, so finding things can get you don't want to search through 200, 300 items. So what we've done in MyAssistant is we try to put search everywhere, because I think we're also in kind of a search society these days, in addition to notification. So let's say I want something to do with, I don't know, insurance or what have you. So I'm just going to guess what it is. And these are some pre-built tasks that are set up around insurance. Now, you can create your own as well, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I can come in and activate one of these guys right here. Okay, so if I want to go in and activate, let's say I want to activate this workers' comp one. I click the activate button, and it's going to walk me through a wizard. So the first step is, okay, AP vendors with expiring workers' comp in how many days? Well, maybe I want to look out 30 days, maybe I want to look out 45 days, what have you. Next step, do you want to schedule this? Yeah, I want to check this, every week, every month, on a certain day, daily, what have you. I can check this on a certain time frame. So this window right here is where I can determine what is emailed. So let's say I'm going to email this to Dennis here, and this list, here's that list out in the bottom. See vendor, vendor name. This is the information you've entered in Sage. This is the information you've entered in Sage, and this is what will show up in that list on the screen. Remember when I was showing you this here? So this is how you defined this report. And what you do is over here on the right is all your Sage information. Now, if you can see this over on the right, this is the stuff you've entered in Sage. So let's say I wanted a vendor contact. We have a search here as well, where I can say, let me see contact. Maybe I want the contact names are there. Maybe I want the contact phone number. So I'm going to drag that over. Well, it's already there actually. Let's do the contact email. Okay, so there's the contact email message, and I can go in here and change the name of it and what have you. And so now I've added email to this report. But basically, to do that, you can search or you can scroll through the list. But the Sage database is quite large, and you just pick what you want and drag it over here. That's it. These last two steps are really kind of more advanced things. I've set up this task. I'm going to go ahead and run it right now. It found 34 vendors. Here are the vendors right here on the screen. Shows you to them. Notice there's my email address I added. And it'll send, in this case, Dennis an email. Okay? So now I'm done. It's scheduled to run I forget what I scheduled to run, once a day, once a week. And it'll sit on my server and monitor my information in your Sage software. So this is how people start. Normally when we install the software, we'll install it, we'll activate a couple tasks. So when you come out of your installation, you'll have a few tasks that are actually running and sending people information. What we have found is when that happens, when people start getting this information, they start doing, well, if I can get this, what about that? And so on and so forth. So, things kind of snowball from there. Any questions at this point? We're kind of quiet. I'm not monitoring the chat log. So if someone from Ledgerwood, I guess I can open up.
We are.
Okay, great. So let's say I wanted to create a brand new task. Okay, so I can click the new button. And let's say I want to do something like I want to be notified of costs overruns or something. Okay, or cost hitting closed jobs, or cost entered last month, last week, cost entered to a future accounting period. Hopefully getting the idea. Guess what? Search again. So the first step in creating a new one is, what's the condition? I'm guessing most of you run reports in Sage, and on that little reports menu, there's a condition button where you can click the condition to filter the report. This is the same concept, and we have a bunch of pre-built conditions for you as well, lots and lots of them. You can create your own. And so here I want to do something with cost. So I can look at, maybe cost over budget by a percentage, or cost over budget by labor dollars, or what have you. Yes, Nancy, I'll show the pay stub and payroll in just a second here. So I can do this, and now let's say I want to, for those jobs for the cost over budget, I want to attach a report out of Sage. So I click the attachment button here, and it says you can attach a Sage 300 report, a Crystal report, a spreadsheet template. Well, let's do this. This is your reports. This list is list your reports that you have that you use in your Sage software. Okay. And here again, there's search. And so if I want to sort of cost report, I think we put search in for guys like me. I want to actually let's just go to job cost. And I can grab a report here. Okay. And if I want to attach that report, I can attach it, name it, and generate the report. So that's attaching a report. If I wanted to send it to project managers, I could use this thing called an email directory. And when I select project manager here, what will happen is when MyAssistant finds a job that has a cost overrun, it will look up the PM, and you tell it where you're putting the PM email address or the project manager's name, normally in job cost, right? It will look that up and then send them whatever content you define down here. So you can kind of get real creative as to how you A, monitor, and B, package up information and push it out to your teams in your company or outside your company for that matter. Okay, so and the other examples of the email directory is the pay stub one. Someone has to see that pay stub. Here is the pay stub that comes with MyAssistant. Now keep in mind this is the report design that you guys can modify. We gave you the report design, and this can be filtered by is filtered by each employee and can be password protected as well. But this is the canned one out of MyAssistant. This will obviously pick up your pays and your taxes and your benefits and deductions, things that you've set up in payroll. I don't know if that answers that question that popped up, but that's what it looks like there. So, so like I said, it's really just a matter of coming into the MyAssistant software and setting up tasks. And it's one of those things that most people start by doing one or two things. Like they maybe start with pay statements, or they may start with AR statements or tenant statements on the real estate side. Or they may start around some accounting controls. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of, tell me if something got posted to a future period, or tell me if something didn't get set up in job cost, maybe a prefix didn't get set up, or a what have you. Something got posted to a closed job. They start with that, and then once they get in and start working, and like I said, and sending information to other people, the things tend to expand. Other questions? The product itself isn't. I shouldn't say this out loud. There's only a few moving parts here. There's a monitor, and there's a looking up the email like I showed you. So I'll activate the pay statement one. Let's go down to payroll and say employee, and I should see something in here to say send employees. Okay, let's say this is a task already set up to send employees their direct deposit statements. I'll show you kind of how this is. I'll just go and open it up. So it has a condition that looks for checks, and normally what people say is they'll say look for checks like in the last 6 days or 7 days based on your pay cycle. You can schedule this, or some people just leave this running on demand. And what that means is somebody goes into MyAssistant and clicks the run button. It's up to you. Here, what they'll do is they'll go in and they'll use an email directory. They'll go in and say send it to the employee, and that'll look up an employee email address anywhere you tell it. Maybe it could be a custom field. It could be an email address on the employee record. You just tell MyAssistant where you store email addresses. And it already has the report attached to it. And so it has the report attached to it, and you can either change this report or use it or what have you. So setting up pay statements is we think pretty quick. Actually, our customers tell us that as well. So I saw another question pop up. Did you guys see it? There was another question, folks. Ledger, did you see that?
Yeah. Do you want me to read it to you?
Sure, I can't.
If a task was set up to send a reminder about expiring insurance to a vendor, who would the sender be on that message? Is there an internal MyAssistant email, or could it be configured to be sent from my email address? I'm thinking about what happens if or when the vendor clicks reply.
Right. Okay. So great question. Really good question. So I'm going to go to that insurance one. Okay. That is a really good question. Several options. One, I'm going to open up this task. I'm going to go to the email step. There is a reply button. So you can put a reply address for each single task. And when that person hits reply, even though the email may have came from whatever, MyAssistant at abc.com, whatever your company, email is, when they click reply, it'll come back to this email address. That's one option, and probably the easiest, quickest, what we see the most. There's also a from option. However, this requires some special setup on your mail server to be able to have multiple froms. So you can do the from option. It requires some extra setup on your mail server. Most people use the reply button. So it comes from kind of a generic thing and then a reply. Good question. Any other questions? No? Okay. I think the next step is then to really get the list of pre-built tasks or conditions. And if you folks don't have that, I can send it over. And that list really gives you an idea of of really the ways other Sage customers are using it. Because we continue to add new items to this. We're working on a big release right now where we're adding about 30, 40 more pre-built tasks in here. Just here again, based on what customers are doing out there, just to try and, give you guys a quick way to implement these things, right? Don't make you reinvent the wheel.
Dennis, so that would be awesome, because I published a link at the beginning of the chat of a blog post that Kyle Ziegler, one of our consultants, did, and she loves MyAssistant. So there's the original or whatever 300. So if you've updated it, I'd love to have that post as a permanent asset for people to refer to.
Okay, I'll send it over after the session here.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, any questions? Hopefully, some wheels are turning on your side. Think of setup information. You can monitor for, did somebody set up a job and didn't set something up? Employees without birthdays, employees without workers' comp states. These are just some, ideas. New things that were added. MyAssistant can tell you when a new vendor got set up, or a new job, or a new customer, or a new employee, and then act on that. So it could tell you something new got added. It could tell you if something changed. Let's say somebody went in and changed a pay rate in payroll. Maybe you want to be told about that. So you can go in here and where is it? Somewhere in here, there's something that says change pay rates. Anyway, MyAssistant can tell you if any value in a field changed in Sage. Here it is right here, employees whose rates have changed. Now, these are just examples to show you, but you can do that as well. I saw these questions pop up and go away. Is there something else in the chat that?
Yeah, Dennis, Jolene asked, how has the formatting issue been addressed with Excel in a report?
Oh, great question. Let's show you that. Oops, oh, no. Do that. Okay, let's say I wanted to add an Excel template to something. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to that, I think I activated the Costco one. Basically, you have freeform capability to do that. And so let's just do this. Categories over budget by an amount. Okay, I'm going to activate this task, and I'll just say over budget by, not $500, but maybe I put a tolerance here, $100 over. Okay, here on the email screen, I can say I want to attach a spreadsheet. Okay. Guess what? We have some pre-built spreadsheets for you as well, but I'm just going to attach a blank one right now, a template. Okay, and so now here on the template, what we have is we have a spreadsheet template, and on the right side over here is all the information in Sage, right, that you entered. So I want to go in, and let's say I want the job number right there, and let's say I want the cost code below that, and let's say I want the category next to that, and you just drag and drop wherever you want this stuff to show up. Okay, so here I want the description. I already got the category description. I want the job description. I'm going to scroll down to my list here, job description. So you do that, and you just and you go to town, and you got Excel formulas and all that kind of stuff. You can resize things. I can draw borders. I can draw all sorts of stuff, right? Then you just tell it this little repeat button right here. You just tell it what to repeat. You say repeat this stuff right here, okay? And maybe sort it by job. Is there a way to see the sample data? Yes. So what you can do is just hit the preview button right here, and it'll show you what it will look like if that question just popped up. So if I want to see what it's going to look like when it sends, this is it. If you say, well, this doesn't look good, I want to change my spacing, or I want to do that. So I can actually change my grouping here and get rid of that space. Actually, I'm going to remove this group. Let's clear this section, and I'm going to just go like this. Okay, like that, and repeat. So this is I'm just blazing through this. This is a simple example, but now I could put a little section in here to say repeat this only once per job, or repeat totals once per job. There's things to say. How often do you want to repeat something? Because you just sort it, and then you can group it together. So you drag fields on, you repeat, you sort, you group, and your template's done. And like I said, I could have formulas and totals, and then this thing could be huge. We have a variety of pre-built templates that are in the software for you that you can set up. And I'll also kind of tip my hat. In the next release of MyAssistant, we're allowing you to take this little table down here and say, create spreadsheet template, and they'll just automatically drop this in the spreadsheet, create all your groups for you, all your totals for you, everything. Because like I can go in here and see down the bottom, I'm totaling down here, and so forth. So we think it's pretty easy. I saw another question pop up. Is the direct deposit notification sent individually, or will MyAssistant recognize an employee? Do we need to send an email to each employee? It will send an email to each employee, if I understand the question. Will notification be sent individually, or will MyAssistant recognize? MyAssistant will recognize the employee, look up the employee's email address, and send each employee an email automatically for you, is what it'll do. So yes, it recognizes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Finished?
No, go ahead.
Rayanne said, I don't have the reply to option in the email section of setting up a task. Hi, Rayanne.
Click the view button. Click the view tab here, and you'll see the reply to.
And Dennis asked, is there a way to see sample data for the things you're dragging and dropping?
Here?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, you can see it this way to see if you're using the. You can scroll like this and say browse data, view data to see if it's the right field. There's not a way to sample this other than running the task, but you don't have to send the task. So I can come in here. Let's say next. I can come in here and do a run. Let's say I don't want to send. I can just do a run to see what it's going to look like. But no, there's not a preview right in that window right there for that. But you can do a preview here just by doing a run, not a run and send.
Anyone else?
Okay. And there was a view data there. So if you're not sure what the field is, saying, am I getting the right field out of Sage? You can click on the field here and say view data here, and it'll show you what's stored in that field. So that helps to determine, are you getting the right field? Good questions.
Okay. And Tony, what fields are not available in MyAssistant? PJ custom logs and?
Yes, if you do, PJ custom logs aren't. Your custom fields are. All your custom fields on jobs and customers and vendors and all this stuff, those are. MyAssistant does not work with the estimating product or the PO product. It does work with service management, not purchasing and inventory. There's a big ugly technical reason why we can't support custom logs. It's the way they were implemented. If there aren't any questions, hopefully this has been a little informative for you. I will send over the pre-built task list for you folks to disseminate and look, and hopefully this was worth your 33 minutes here.
Yeah, and people, I will forward that to you as well.
So if there are any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Are we good?
Oh, one more from Daniel. Can you send a commitment cost status report to each separate project manager that includes only their jobs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can filter any of this by the recipient. So project managers, superintendents, employees, customers, vendors, yes. And you can filter the content of the reports. So even if you're printing a report off a Sage menu, we can filter that report to be, for example, just a project manager's jobs. Or for that matter, just to a superintendent. Not to complicate things, but even in doing that, you can send the project manager one email per job if you wanted to. Maybe that individual is going to forward them to different people. So the answer is yes. Okay, gang, have a great day. If something else pops up, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll help you right away.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.